Welcome to another Coffee Samso. Today we are going to be talking about Lupins, Lupins Lupin Protein Isolate. It is a business with a market cap of about 11 million recently. The share price of the company has pretty much risen from about 0.5 of a cent to, I believe, a high of 2.8 cents just recently. This business came across my table just recently. I've had some experience with Lupin back in 2019 where I did some content with a gentleman called Paul Wenderley about superfoods and how the nutrient out of lupin can produce a lot of protein for people who consume these. So when this came across the table, I was very curious. It was a company called Wide Open Agriculture. The ASX code is WOA. Interestingly, a week after I looked at it, I made approach to the non-executive chair, Yaxi Zhan, to have a chat and talk about the business. While we were having this conversation, the stock went for a run to, I think that was the day it reached a high of 2.6 or 2.8. So as we look at the business of what makes an ASX company an investment opportunity for the retail guys, I thought WOA is worth a conversation. So today we are talking to Yazi all about Lupins and how WOA intend to deliver on its business concepts. Again, as I have mentioned previously, Samso in 2025 is an independent content provider. We want to stay independent to deliver the content that makes sense. So please go to our support page, support us in one of those forms. Go on YouTube, click on the subscribe button, click up the thumbs up and like our content. That helps us immensely on our journey to be independent. Just a brief on Yazi. Yazi is an experienced executive with 17 years experience in startups, large mining operations, has chaired an ASX company in Australia. One of the strong attributes of Yazi is that she has strong connections in the Australian business community as well as the Chinese business community. So as usual, grab your favorite beverage, sit back, enjoy another coffee with Samso. Thank you. Welcome to another Coffee with Samso. As I said, today we are with Wide Open Agriculture. ASX code is WOA, and I'm here with the non-executive chair.
That's right.
Yaxi Zhan.
Yes.
And we are at the UWA Club here on the University of Western Australia campus in Crawley. So welcome, Yaxi.
Thank you for having me.
Look, Wide Open Agriculture is kind of a offbeat from most of the conversation we've had, but as I said in the intro, I've come across the whole Lupin story. Maybe just start with just a bio of yourself and how you got involved with the company, and then we can get into the details of the business.
Yeah, sure. So my background is come from Inner Mongolia. So I came to Australia in 2004. And all my corporate careers predominantly in the mining industry, resource industry. So I started my own company 2012 and listed the first ASX listed exploration company in 2018. So I think what I have is more of around the how to run tight budget and corporate and ASX compliance. So in about last year, I started to learn or know the company Wide Open Agriculture through a common friends. And it's a very unique, as you mentioned before, it's on the ASX listed space. We have about close to 3,000 companies, most of them in the resource sectors, and Wide Open Agriculture coming across as a company in WA, in the agri-food technology space. And I just think that's something that I could help with in terms of my corporate skill set and ASX compliance, and also tap into the China market. And so I started to get involved last year. So now it has been in the position for 6 months.
the agriculture space, I guess, in I think back in 2018, 2019,
Yeah.
we had the milk run, right?
That's it.
And the market went berserk, right? Everything was all about the milk and going to China. Obviously, when we talk about consumption, China is probably the biggest market,
Yeah.
and we are close to that market. Can you give us a history lesson for the company, because you guys have been, well, the
Yeah.
company has been around since 18, 19?
Yes, yeah, been listed for
Yeah,
about 10
and,
years
and
now.
obviously when you look at the share price
Yeah,
chart,
yeah,
there's a lot of activities. So maybe just
yeah,
give us a lesson on where it's been and what it was before today.
yeah, sure. So, like all the sort of startup companies, wide open agriculture, when they first started about 10 years ago, they like identified that their niche is, and their vision is to be a WA West Australia based agri-tech company from the get-go. First of all, when they started, they had a great founder and also the financiers in this sector. And they wanted to use the WA as a base and tap into the regenerative farming, agriculture, food, and the supply chain. So that's get the company going. And being in WA, very close to the wheat belt, and they identified this magical bean, which is the lupin. And then they teamed up with Curtin University, and Curtin at the time had an in-depth of R&D program on the how to turn lupin into a human food consumption. So they coming up with a technology and be able to beneficiate the lupin from, say, there's raw materials about 40% protein to about 90% protein, the protein isolate. So the company identified that's going to be the game changer. So start to partner with Curtin University, CSIRO, in 2018 to 2019, which you say this is a huge investment comes into the food and ingredient sector. They took that opportunity and started the process, turn the technology from the lab scale to pilot plant scale in 2021, and then semi-commercial scale to 2023. So they acquired the facility, which is specifically purpose built for lupin processing facility in Germany. So pretty much the company really focused on the making lupin and the lupin protein and human consumption, and that's their main focus. And throughout the ways, there are other revenue streams for the company in the past, which is called the dirty clean food. And the company went through the divestment process in 2024. So right now, what we have is a wide open agriculture, single focused, laser focused on the lupin and the lupin technology. And the vision of the company is to become a lupin protein company, which is a supply to the global as an ingredient to supply to the global demand.
Because the whole lupin story is unique in the sense that it on today we know it's high value. There's a lot of nutrition. It's very good for us as in human beings. But as you mentioned before, it was not that before. It was like for the
Animal consumption.
animal kingdom, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So that transition to where we are today. I mean, I remember hemp was also another magical seed that we should have, and it has good attributes for construction and building materials on this. When we look at the business, before we go into the why I think there's a big place for this kind of business, do you think this is a fad for customers? Like, it's a flavor of the decade that people can, hey, this is a great way to promote a company or a business. Do you think Lupin sits in that, or what's the difference you see in your source for the business?
I think lupin is the future. Lupin is now. Lupin, if we compare like where we're heading towards. So traditionally we're eating like a meat. Meat is our main source of a protein intake. But like even 100 gram of, let's say, beef, there's only 12% or 12 gram of a protein in there. But if you're looking at lupin, in the lupin seed itself, before you process it, actually have a 40% of a protein. It's a really high.
40.
40,
Oh, okay.
40% of a protein. And the lupin also doesn't have that much of a starch, like comparing to other plant-based sort of your protein intake. And the other part of it is a fiber, is that sort of digestible fiber in it, and the lupin oil. So all of this, like even just the seeds itself, you can say that's had a great nutrition benefit of it. So that's number one. Is the point of it different is a lupin is a high protein source of, and a very good and ethical sort of source of a protein. Secondly, why I'm saying that this is the future is we are transition from the traditional source of meat protein, whey protein, which is the milk protein, to the plant-based protein. And that is driven by the huge consumer demand of what is good for the environment, and also health and nutrition benefit. It is something like here us now, and I think like in either developing or developed countries, will have a lot of health issues and problem. Either that's driven by the most of that is driven by how we consume our food, and it's just quite a lot of like a high sugar and a high fat. So a lot of the dietitians start to looking for alternative supplies or ethical supplies of quality proteins and easy digestible for human consumptions. And lupin is a logical solution. The reason why we are still at the very early stage is because it's so new. It's new to the market. But my experience, especially like I just came back from the China market, is people need something new. They're always looking for something new to supply to our existing markets. Especially lupin is like, as we mentioned, it has a great nutrition and health benefit associated to it. So I think it is not something like we wanted to create a trend. We are part of the trend, and it's coming already. It's in now and going to the future.
Is this still new, the trend that you just talked about? Do you think it's new, or is this already an established understanding? Because when I first was introduced to lupin, it was like, have lupin, use lupin flour to make your breads and things like that because it's good for you. Now we're actually transitioning to lupin protein, and then further on you explained lupin protein isolate, right? So it's like high level. Would that be correct in saying?
Yes, I think if you look at the lupin is so they're coming into different stages, right? So first of all is your lupin seeds, and then you grind it to high protein lupin flour. Well, so what at Wide Open Agriculture we do is we beneficiate it to the highest form is a lupin isolate. So what's in the lupin isolate is 90% lupin-based protein, and then the rest is very small percentage of oil and the fiber as well. So when you as us, when we consume the protein, if it's high, like any food, if we consume, the body will absorb, let's say, your starch and fat first, because that's easy to absorb and then digest. But if you consume something like a high in protein, the body is working more efficient. So absorb the protein, and then you feel fulfilled, and you not have this like a sugar or salt cravings. So to be able to provide this high quality food and to integrate into our daily dietary requirements, it actually helps us to become more healthy. So I think that's the difference, is have protein isolate, lupin-based protein isolate, and you can use that, as you mentioned, you can have your protein shakes, and you can add to your coffee, or you can make your breads and noodles and all of this, and then can you imagine the food which is low in starch and low in fat and great taste, doesn't have like a beanie taste, and the taste natural, taste well, and you actually wanted to eat it as well. So that's the difference. What we're doing is quality, high protein isolate as an ingredient added to our daily use.
From a business point of view,
Yeah.
so we got correct me if I'm wrong, you got Lupin seeds and things,
Yeah.
you make flour,
Yeah.
and you can go to your local supermarket and buy those things. When we start talking about the high end, your Lupin Isolate and things like that, is that still something that the market is your local supermarket, or is there another niche market that, because you're at such high level, it's different to your kind of supermarket market?
So generally, we're in the ingredient business. So the ingredient business, we do B2B. So our parties are the ones like, I see that into two different sectors. One is your high-end health and wellness sectors. So these are the companies that are making like protein bars and protein shakes and high functional nutrition foods. It is all potential into the pharmaceutical, but that's a different category. We just stay in the food sector. So that's one of our sort of target audience or targeted business. They're the price takers. So they're the ones that can recognize the health and the wellness benefit of the Lupin can provide, and for amino acids, and that's the value add to the product. So the other is mass market. The mass market is like we eat every day. Like it's large quantities. So those are you're moving by volumes. So it's such as your bread, noodles, pastas, like shakes that or like a coffee mate. So those ones that you probably only have 10 or even less than 10% of overall ingredients in that category, but we all use on the daily basis. So they are the volumes. So Lupin can go into both ends, but all carries a fantastic nutrition benefit.
In terms of again the business, and obviously I was doing my research when it came across my screen and things like that. When I understood potentially what you guys were doing, because I had to figure out whether you're making, what products you're making. Then you start talking about the isolate and your IP and all these products. Then I saw the announcement that you've had the approval to market your products into China. That's when I suddenly realized there's that scale starts to move, because then there are a lot of things that people make which are supposed to be good, but then you don't get that approval to come into the market there, for whatever reasons there may be. But it's almost a license to print money in the layman thinking, right? I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it is.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, there's hurdles attached to all these things.
Yeah.
How important was that for you guys, for WOA?
It's our focus. It's quite important to us as a business, because that's one of the largest market and the fastest growing market as well. So so that's number one. And the second is, if you're looking at wide open agriculture, we are based in WA. We source from WA. We're so close to the Asian market, and we have that one of the largest and fastest growing markets at our doorstep. So we're not going to ignore them. So the company has been actually, before even I come on board, start building that relationships, but we just fast track that process in the last couple months. And also, if you're looking at the sort of a dietary habit, is that in the APAC region, especially China, and I'm a Chinese, so the plant-based dietaries, so in our blood, so it's not something new to us. It's the tradition, so it's very easy to integrate, and people are easy to take on. So what's already sort of part of their habit. So I think that's sort of a slightly lower the entry barriers for us. Another thing is that, as we all know, China is a very much of a policy-driven what's in our favor recently is this new policy, Healthy China 2030, is driven by the government, have the 10 years plan of systematically reduce the diabetes and all the other sort of health issues that's associated with a sort of a diet. And so Lupin come in terms of, we're sort of right in that trend. Because we recently released this new new presentation, which demonstrates the fantastic health benefit of using or implement lupin protein into your diet. So lower your blood, potentially lower your blood sugar, control the weight control. So that's sort of just in the trend as well, in demand in terms of what Chinese government trying to achieve. So I think basically the right time, the right product, and the right market.
So the other offsets, obviously, the plant nutrient thing, I really fully get, obviously, because you get a lot of places where you don't have a lot of growth, and having this nutrient, a protein-based substance that people will not suffer for malnutrition. But from a competition point of view, right? I mean, obviously, every time we talk about business going into China, people are first thinking, well, they'll copy this and then they'll just run with it, and you're left holding the bag, kind of, so to speak. What are your thoughts on that part of an investor's point of view? Because obviously they're looking at you and they go, oh, that's great, they're going to get into China. Then the next question, oh, well, they'll just, whatever they have gets stolen and they'll lose business. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I guess for that aspect is coming back to what is the core, what is our like a value proposition. So wide open agriculture, first of all, work with Curtin University, as I mentioned before, back in 2020. So the exclusive license to that technology, so 100%. And the company has added so much value to the technology, and it's IP protected. So that's number one, is the know-how, the in-house know-how cannot be replicated, yes, but we do have the first mover advantage, and that's built in the last 4 years of this business. So the IP protected in-house know-how are these things you need to take time to catch up to if anyone wanted to come in to compete. Secondly, is that the purposely built factory in Germany. And that's another thing, is that the Europe, like sort of sources from WA, made in Europe, that premium brand, that quality control and the technology we have to position this business as a very unique value proposition. So yes, you can make things in China probably at a fraction of a cost, but just as you mentioned, the milk powder, is that the source from WA, and that's the brand recognition itself give it a significant value. And then again, is that we also acquired a whole heaps of IPs when we acquired the German facility. So that comes with global protected IP as well. So we're making two very unique, different type of lupin protein product, LP90 and BP80. They are all very different process. So we're quite confident that we are the market leaders in this because the strategic positions that we have close to the source, and had the purposely built processing facilities overseas. And then we have the in-house know-how, and we have the IP. So, and I mean that position the company very well, so we can be the first movers and leaders in the industry. But then again, on the other side is that we have we wanted to have healthy competitions. We wanted to have other people coming in to join the whole lupin sort of armies, so that we all can promote lupin protein. These fantastic products that be able to like everyone, when you take it, it can be beneficial. And healthy competitions actually helps the whole industry. The ultimate purpose of that, yes, we, like as a business, we making like a profit is important, but also WA, we produce 80% of global lupin, and we currently produce about 400,000 tons a year, and we can go up to 2 million tons. And then the farmers need to see the benefits of to grow the lupin for human consumption to have a high price point. So we wanted to, part of us sort of, which is set into company vision is that to encourage the farmers to have this regenerative farming system and also plant lupin as a like lupin itself as a plant. It fixes the nitrogen in an organic way into the soil rather than buying synthetic nitrogens. So in a different way is that I think it's beneficial.
Can you grow lupin anywhere? Is it a sensitive crop? Is it a robust kind of crop that you can pick a plot?
Yeah.
Being a backyard gardener?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. At the moment, I think China has, another thing is China has tried so many times to grow lupin. Lupin actually requires a very specific sort of poor soil, like a sandy type of soil and a certain atmosphere, and Australia is perfect for it. And also, lupin can grow in Europe as well, but a very small quantity. So Australia has actually perfectly, in terms of the soil and environment is perfect to grow lupin. And so our research shows that China hasn't or not be able to grow lupin. So there's no lupin growing in China. So that's again to position West Australia and especially our company very unique in terms of close to a source can only supply or majority supply from WA.
I read when I was doing my little research that there are different types of lupin, and some lupin are adaptable for your upgrading and some lupins are not. Is that correct? Have I got this correct?
Yeah, I think there's even today, they are still trying, there's a lot of research and trials and going on to having different species of lupin. So currently what we have here in WA, we call the WA sweet lupin. So it's a very low alkaloid, so 0.02% lower than that. So because that brings the lupin a bitterness to it. So we have a very, our lupin, sweet lupin, because alkali levels is quite low. Others in Europe probably slightly bitter than that. But throughout the process, you can wash it off, or you have a different ways, and you actually can remove those bitter tastes within the lupin beans. So we are continuing, like especially the university here, Murdoch University, Curtin University, they are continuing to develop a new breed of lupin seed. Yes, we are constantly looking at the different source of a supply, but what we have right now actually pretty good. So you don't need a lot more fertilizer. It's good for the soil. It increases soil quality and lupin as a rotating crop. So that next year you're planting some other plants, then your yield go up by 25%. So we just love to promote lupin as a plant as well.
Competition? Are there anyone on the ASX that's a competitor to WOA in terms of the business?
Not really. So we're one of a kind in the using lupin as a very focus on Lupin Isolate, Lupin protein. And also the other side is the ag-tech company. I think the overall, in terms of even just if you broaden that to ag-tech, agriculture technology space, there's not many company out there.
Even on the private sector or in Europe, is there anyone trying to do similar things to what you guys are doing?
Yes, private, yes, but not in the protein isolate because of the technology and process. It's different, but there are a number of companies here in Australia producing lupin flour, lupin snacks. So probably more of a B2C business, doing really well and get quite a lot of recognitions in terms of the health benefit of a lupin can and I think there's recently they had a line interviewed one of the companies in Queensland, and how they using like integrated or the they supplied their lupin flower into the retirement village homes. Sorry. So they supply the lupin into the retirement village. So then they're making pastas and bread. So those are high fiber and high protein sort of your pastas and bread, and helps to improve their nutrition. And because when we get older, we probably won't be able to chew. Then how you get your you can't have your steak. So how you gonna get your protein and low starch and low carbohydrate protein, and then Lupin provided the solutions.
Yeah, I remember before my parents were passed now, when they were on this protein shake.
Yeah.
But it was high in sugar.
Yeah.
But obviously it was high in protein, but high in sugar.
Yeah.
What is the market? I mean, is there a market size for Lupin and then Lupin Isolate? Do you have an idea what?
I think probably our products have a broader range. So it's because like if you're looking at the protein isolate, which is the highest form of a protein, and especially the ways of the process we got, remove the beanie taste, which is very important. And then throughout the process, not heat treated or chemical treated. So that it's protected the whole amino acid profile, which is again is very important. And that's even said our protein, which is plant-based, lupin-based protein, different to say your a soybean protein or pea protein, and they actually can peer compare with whey protein, which is the protein coming from the milk, and also meat, even meat as well. So that's very important. So the process and the product is unique. And because there's a uniqueness, then we'll be able to go into high end, which is your health and wellness sector. And because of the process as well, that you can meet those, we call it clean label, that you don't have to have like to adding like a sweetener to mask those tastes, or to add something else to changing the color. So the product itself is very pure, and those sort of white to cream color, you can fit into your like flour, bread, the protein shakes, different colors that you like. And that's actually expanded the sort of a product line for end users. So that's the point of a difference. However, overall, it doesn't matter if you're lupin flour or lupin sort of even split that you can make in, we call porridge. They are all very good products. So we wanted to see more of this to come into consumers. People actually get familiar with it. So there are companies here in WA doing very well on that. Export lupin flowers to the APAC region, and and as well as the US as well.
Because this protein business is $1 billion market, right? In terms of globally, right? Globally. So are you guys targeting any specific, or you're happy to stay with that broad concept you've just described?
Yeah, it's generally we are targeting in the health wellness sector,
Which is a big market, right?
Which is huge, and that's now, and that's going to the future, and I call it the price taker sector, which is then because our product and price is probably setting towards a bit higher range, and we wanted the customers to recognize that our point of a difference and are willing to pay a bit extra to buy the premium product. We cannot compete to soya protein, pea protein. They're the sort of low margin categories but there's like China produce, I don't know, hundreds of millions of tons a year, huge production. You just can't compete with that amount of sort of supply. Again, to be in that niche market and with very good amino acid profile. We understand our product and uniqueness of it, and then we go into a specific market, and that market is big enough. So we just need almost like a currently all of that market is also using pea protein and soy protein. We just need like just 1%, even 1% is enough. And that is the market is big enough for something new like a wide open agriculture to come in to be part of it. And as we said, the future is wide open.
Yeah, I think a lot of people may think, oh, that you need a big market for you to make money, but that market you describe is huge and is growing day by day. You know, a percentage of that would keep you busy all day.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of people forget that. You know, it's a bit like in our mining sector. How big's your resource? Well, how big do you want it to be?
Yes.
It's a 25-year mine life. How big do you want it to be? You know?
Yeah. And just on that one, like as I mentioned, like we are only producing 400,000 ton in terms of source supply of lupin. Now we can grow 4 or 5 times here in WA easy, and that's the Department of Agriculture call this is the like tier 1 regions to grow lupin, and there are more areas can grow. And if you're looking at the ESG credentials, how this is organic way fixing the nitrogen, reduce the carbon dioxide, and that's bringing extra values into the whole supply chain. So all of these areas would not even start to promote. We still need to obtain data, getting a bit more data to sort of backing some of the claims, but traditionally, lupin has been used in organic ways of like protect the soil, improve the productivities as a rotating crop. So it has been there since the farming started here. So yeah.
So in terms of the model, I mean, when we talk about mineral exploration and mining and things like that, it's like, you know, here's some money, go drill some holes, you find a resource, develop your resource, prove it up, then you mine. So what is the life cycle or the process for WOA in terms of, from an investor point of view, like, you know, a timeline, and when do I see my exit, you know, those kind of thoughts?
So I think if you're looking at the wide open agriculture, we're in the categories of agri-tech space. So in that space, one is the sort of your revenue center is your IP. So licensing the IP, further develop the IP, that's a revenue center, and we call it that's the X factor, right? So if that's you can't put a like really value. It's like you drill a hole. Like if you hit something, that can be whatever that's your price tag. The other part of it is just scaling up. So we're in a sort of a process of a scale up. So the company has already demonstrated track records of from the lab scale to pilot scale to semi-commercial scale. So then the next one is that once the business to grow, say past our current production capacity, what's the next one? And that's the exciting part of your scaling up, and to like systematically proven to the market that we can do it. And that's the value creation part. So we currently say below 10 mil market cap. And when we be able to crystallize the IP strategy down the track, and also proven to the market that we have a sound the plan of scaling up and open up the market and meeting the market demand, and we have a very solid business.
You're actually 11 million, so you've undersold yourself.
Okay, all right.
So in terms of funding strategy, obviously, which is important. I mean, I noticed last year you had raised 7 million, and you've obviously used a portion of that.
Yeah.
Going forward, can you tell us a picture? I know there's no such thing as a crystal ball, but you know, what is the potential funding strategy?
Yeah, so I think one of the good things about one of the advantage of being of agri-tech business here is that we're actually done quite a lot of R&D throughout the year. So in the near term, so we're waiting for the R&D refund to coming back in. That will be a source of funding. And then secondly would be look at the potential sort of offtakes and generate the revenue through that. In the short term, probably still need to go back to the market. But there are a few things that we still wanted to deliver before we go back to the market.
Look, we've talked a lot. I mean, this is a WA-based story in some aspect. What would be the takeaway for these guys who are watching this Coffee with Samso now? What would you want them to take away? The message. What message do you want to take away?
I think Wild Open Agriculture is a company worth a backing. It's a WA, West Australia-based company. It's one of the kind. It's in this agriculture and tech space. It's facing the future. And I think through the last couple months of track records, we're onto the right track. And there's a lot more to deliver and some great value to be created. And we start to see the signs that we can deliver that.
What would the news flow be going forward, that they can look forward to?
Yeah, I think on the big ones would be we just opened up the China market. We're looking for partners to come in to start to sort of get the rolling out of the business in China. I think that would be a good big one. After that is that we also had the early signs of success in the Europe market, and we need to continue to develop that. So we're looking for continue to grow our sales pipeline. We have a very strong focus on get the business cost, reduce the cost. So we continue to do that. So our deploy the capital to where needed. And then beyond that is how we scale up the business.
11 mil market cap. I mean, an industry where you're feeding sort of the global shortage of food that everyone talks about. I think it's an interesting story, and I must admit that was kind of like where I was looking for. But I also have understood Lupin and what benefits it had. Having teenage kids who are big protein powder in the house. I get that protein market. That's why I kind of know how big this market is. But look, Yazi, thank you for your time. I mean, it's great. I hope you guys out there will get some info out of this conversation and contact Yazi. That's her job to tell you guys all about it. Again, thank you, and I'll keep following what you guys are doing.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.